Now, this is the big story weather-wise nationwide. Let's put this in motion. This is a developing hurricane. It's not yet a hurricane, but it will be, according to National Hurricane Center weather forecasts, inside of about 48 to 72 hours. And it's making a beeline for Louisiana. The latest satellite loop with lightning indicates a central dense overcast developing, as well as a real big core of thunderstorm activity. And it's sitting over water that's approaching 90 degrees. So this thing's going to go big. And it looks like we could have a hurricane quickly. It may even become a major hurricane before making landfall. So where is it going to go? Well, folks in Houston, in Texas, are still reeling after Hurricane Beryl. The good news is we look at the forecast track is that this looks like it'll stay just east of Houston. Good news for Houston, bad news, though, for Louisiana. Now, check it out. This will be Francine. Francine becoming a hurricane and making a landfall Wednesday. It looks like in the bayous south of Lafayette, Lake Charles, and Baton Rouge. This will be west of New Orleans. So Houston will be on the clean side. Houston, maybe a couple of showers and a breeze. But New Orleans could, even though you're kind of on the edge of the cone there, New Orleans, you could get hit with tornadoes, heavy rain, flooding. And also, we could see wind gusts there over 60 or 70 miles per hour. It's certainly a possibility. And then the spaghetti malls take it up into the Mississippi River Valley, maybe up toward Memphis, up toward Graceland. Let's look at the impacts. As far as the impacts go from the hurricane itself as it approaches later on this week, what is expected to become a hurricane. In the red there along I-10 from Lake Charles, which is just east of Beaumont, Texas, where the crossroads is there south of Shreveport, up into Baton Rouge, Jackson, Mississippi, New Orleans. Those would be the highest impact zones. And then as the system tracks inland, those high impact zones could twist back left toward Memphis and Louisville into this coming weekend. But this is going to be a full-blown hurricane, it looks like, for Louisiana coming up before this week is out. How quickly the Atlantic Basin has escalated. The lull in the action is coming to an end. And, this isn't the only game in town. As far as what's going on around the region, we've got a couple of other areas to watch here in the eastern Atlantic, both with a likely chance of becoming a tropical depression or storm later this week. The next names on the list after Francine in the Gulf will be Gordon and Helene. And at least one of our models is forecasting that maybe that trailing tropical wave is the one there to the east could become a major hurricane. Let's put that in motion and check that out. We've got a possibility here where that Gordon maybe gets absorbed by the power of Helene, and then Helene becomes a major hurricane. That would be by the middle of this month in about 9 or 10 days. Where it goes from there, we'll have to see. I mean, typically these would curve out when they get strong like this, but if it, for some reason, stays farther south thanks to a stronger Bermuda high, we'd be in trouble from that one. So don't let your guard down. It's been a quiet sort of month, if you will, after Ernesto hit, but now things are taking a turn. So the Atlantic is waking up, Garrett.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You don't like to see some of those forecasts there, and it looks like we could be getting ready to go through more of those names we just saw.
Yeah, in fact, the seasonal forecasts were going for at least 23 storms as far as the early season forecast for this hurricane season. And on our list, there's only 21 names. Now we're about a third of the way through those names. We could catch up, I guess you could say, over the next month and a half or so. And typically when the hurricane season winds down toward late October, Halloween, maybe it stays active through mid-November. The hurricane season officially doesn't end till the end of November.
Yeah, so we still have a ways to go, but interesting because I know you've been talking about it. Tomorrow is technically the peak of the hurricane season.
Yep, you're absolutely right. September 10th is the peak statistically when we see the most action, the most intense storms. And really the peak lasts for a good week or so. But because we've had this lull in the action and the water's been allowed to warm up even more thanks to the sunshine and the lack of tropical systems, we may see that peak extended through the end of September. So we could see an outbreak of named systems and storms. Of course, like Russian roulette, right? The more bullets in the chamber, the higher the chances. Horrible analogy there, but it's a historical colloquialism, and it's a way to describe this because, after all, we're talking about major hurricane potential across somewhere in the Atlantic Basin, and if you're in the line of it, you're in the line of fire. So it's important to be aware of this and not let your guard down. But as far as our forecast goes for the week ahead, it's all about the rain. Hurricanes aside, tropical systems aside, we will not catch direct impacts from Francine as it makes landfall on Wednesday in Louisiana as a hurricane. But we could see some of its moisture transported along a stationary front that's going to be bound across our region, helping to enhance the rainfall intensity as we head toward Thursday and Friday. So that's the latest. A lot going on, from a lull to the opposite of a lull, all inside of a weekend.
Yeah, certainly a lot to keep an eye on. And interesting to see, I know we talked last week about some of those counties along Florida's East Coast being in drought conditions, and they're the ones getting quite a bit of rain today.
Yeah, any hint of drier than normal conditions will quickly go away, and this will be a rainy season where we do a lot of catch up, not just for local drought conditions, but the aquifer at large. We've had a lot of rain, so it'll be beneficial in that sense for sure. But Florida, it's go big or go home. We either get soaked with rain or mired in drought. There's the old saying that every Florida drought is ended by a Florida flood, and vice versa. Every Florida flood is ended by a Florida drought. So come the dry season this winter, I'm sure we'll all be hoping for rain.
Yeah, not a whole lot of in between
right,
this time of year.
There's no middle of the road.
Right. All right, Brooks, thanks.